bringing the convention here, and the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce will take very graciously all the kind words you have for the role that we played in this great event. But as we got closer to the time, it was necessary for the political leadership of Georgia and Atlanta to move in and put this thing to bed. And now I'd like to introduce to you the leaders and the gentlemen who are really responsible for putting our best foot forward and showing off our city and our state to the world and to the Democratic Party and the Site Selection Committee. Beginning with the Honorable Joe Frank Harris, the Governor of the state of Georgia. Governor Harris.
Thank you very much, Bob. I appreciate the opportunity of being a part of this historic occasion for our state of Georgia. I know Atlanta's going to be great in 1988, and Georgia's going to be great in 1988 also. And we're not only going to be great in 1988, but we're going to be great right on through the years 2000 because of the momentum that is here. I think you've seen a real team that has been put together, that has been productive, and now we've had the answer. And we're very pleased with the answer. We're very grateful for the answer. But the challenge is here today, and certainly the hard work is about to begin. And I know this team is going to be productive. I've already told Chairman Kirk and Chairman Landau that we're going to see that their decision was the right decision. And I really believe that, and I think Georgia and the South and Atlanta and all of us working together will send a message not only to the Republicans, but we'll send a message all across this United States that we're in the mainstream of the Democratic Party here in the South, and we want that to convey everywhere. And so we're glad it's going to be here, and we thank you very much for it. Thank you.
If Paul Kirk is the #1 conventioneer in Atlanta, Georgia in 1988, I'd now like to present to you the #1 citizen of Atlanta, Georgia, Mayor Andrew Young. Andy?
The good thing about being the mayor of Atlanta and the #1 citizen is you really do have a broad-based team to back you up and do almost anything that you can get everybody committed to believe in. And that team is not only the elected officials and the business community, but a lot of good voting Democrats. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask, if we could, ask some of our, I think Georgia elected officials, Georgia elected Democrats look good when they get together. And I wonder if we could ask them to come up behind us. Are we going to do that soon? Or can
but why don't we do that right now, please?
Could we ask the congressional delegation and all of the elected Democrats, city council officials, county commissioners,
with the mayor's indulgence, maybe I could also ask the National Finance Chair of the Democratic Party, Vic Razor, if he'd come up, Sharon Pratt Dixon, our treasurer, and Don Fowler, who'll be right on team, on leading the team to help the Atlanta group put this convention together in the way we know it'll be successful.
Good.
And I'd like to take this opportunity to give you an invitation to our Atlanta Convention Visitors Board meeting where we'll begin planning, and to give you your Look at Atlanta Now sweatshirt, Nate. And
looks like maybe fit the governor.
and here's one for Paul also. This has been a great process that has really done a lot for us as a party and as a team. It's helped us to work together. We had to pull together. We enjoy doing it. The city, the county, the state, the private sector has really worked not only to do this, but to bring us a Democratic senator in White Fowler, a new Democratic congressman in John Lewis, and we think that this is just a foretaste of Georgia helping to bring a new Democratic president in 1988.
Mr. Mayor, you're right. They do look good back up there. Glad we did that. Okay, the last and very important fourth member of our team is the chairman of the Fulton County Commission, Michael Lomax. Michael?
Thank you, Bob. Paul Kirk and to Nate Landau, I know I speak for all of us when I say thank you for giving us this opportunity to bind together. This is a powerful as well as a good-looking coalition up here. And I want to assure you that we are pledged as a coalition that worked hard to bring this convention to Atlanta. This coalition is going to continue to work hard to make this the most successful Democratic convention in 1988. And this is the kind of coalition that is going to make 1988 a great year for the Democratic Party. Thank you.
And now I'd like to open the floor to members of the press for any questions you might have of our distinguished panel.
Quick while you're here, Bob.
We answered all of Atlanta's questions yesterday, right?
Let's get up and leave. Quick. All right. Everybody's happy.
Kevin?
Well, the first thing I think is now that the decision has been made that all the elements of government and the private sector from Atlanta and Georgia's point of view would meet with our team from the National Committee and to really flush through all the administrative plans, calendars, timetables, and sequence of events leading up to the convention and really put together what I'd call a campaign plan. And I think that's basically the first order of business, and getting these people, as I know they will, to understand and work together with a sense of trust and confidence in each other, and I think we'll have a solid team.
Thinking back to San Francisco in '84, thinking back to what went right there and what went wrong there, what can you take from that experience and advise local officials here to do to minimize anything that went wrong there and accentuate what went right?
Well, I think San Francisco convention, as a convention, worked out quite well. I think probably, as you look around this room and see the dedication of the Democratic officials here, the public-private partnership that exists and is an attraction in and of itself to Atlanta, I think really so many of these things, whether it's in government or private life, it's people working together for a common purpose. And I think, frankly, that's one of the great assets that this city offers. You've already done it on a number of occasions. This is clearly a first. Everyone understands the importance of it, and I think that's really going to be the strength of the '88 contest.
Mr. Kirk, what do you think the Atlanta Convention will do for Sam Nunn's decision on running for president?
I don't think, I shouldn't speak for Sam Nunn, but I can speak for ourselves. Certainly this decision was made without any relationship to any decisions that Senator Nunn may be contemplating. The one thing I will say is that the Democratic Party in the United States are far better off having Democrats in the majority of the United States Senate and having Sam Nunn direct the country in a sensible and rational way on questions of defense and the other important matters that are critical to the American citizenry. And I think whatever he decides, this party in this country is better off for him being where he is. I wouldn't want to ponder or speculate for a minute about any of his plans.
Mr. Chairman, you probably saw the Blue Block cartoon this morning. Is
this a return to power for the Democratic Party?
Listen, I saw that cartoon. I loved it. The one thing that is really important, I think everyone understands, for the Democratic Party to succeed in 1988 has to have a well-thought-out, well-executed national strategy. And I've said from the beginning that we cannot have a competitive national strategy unless we are truly competitive in the southern region of this country. We've been competitive at every level. Georgia is as democratic, in my view, when you look around this room, as Massachusetts is. We've got all the same, all up and down the line. And I think as we come here and establish a beachhead and send a message from now until the convention about the meaning and the statement that encompasses this from a political point of view, and we conduct our business properly, I think we can, as a national party, evoke a response that will be needed as we go forward to the general election. So I was happy with the cartoon. I'll be happy when we have the convention here, and I'll be happier in November of 1988 and January of 1989 when we can look back and say it was in Atlanta in July of '88 that we nominated the 41st President of the United States.
Will the Super Tuesday cluster of Southern primaries make the Southern vote decisive in choosing the nominee?
I don't believe so, but it's all speculation. I think I understand fully why the political leaders wanted to have an early impact on the process. I'd be hard put to conclude at the moment that, to use your word, it would be decisive. It's a new venture for southern states in the nominating process. I think there will be a number of very important states that candidates will be campaigning in after the southern primary. But I think on that overall question, we'll just have to await the results.
Newspaper reports a couple of months back speculated that conventions were going to be in New Orleans and Houston. Obviously, that's only half right. What was the one factor you think that swung the decision, or was there a decision to come to Atlanta instead of?
There were a number of factors that were attractive to the committee in assessing the very competitive contest for the convention site. But I think perhaps as compelling as anything was that you had, in the physical sense, you have a workable convention center, you have the hotel accommodations that are proximate, numerically adequate, and quality. You, as I've said, from a political point of view, have really the hub, the heart, and the capital of the South. And then so many of the other things really come down to the human factor. And I can't overstate the importance of what Atlanta means in terms of hope and confidence for the future. It's a commitment by a community to invest in a future. That's what the Democratic Party is committed to. We've seen an administration steal from our future. We're committed to the opposite. We're committed to involving all people. Whatever the diversity is of this country, we want to make it a strength and not leave certain people out and take other people, and the economic elite survive and the others don't. So there's a number of different things that I think that come to the human and political equation that, in a sense, make a political statement about our party. And I think the best of that statement lies here in this community. I'll tell you, in fairness to all the other cities, this is the kind of choice the committee made with a little bit of sadness in the sense that you can only have a convention in one place. It'd be unfair for me to come to this group not to say that the other cities worked tirelessly and hard and did a great job. And they, I hope, all went home feeling proud of themselves and proud of the effort that they made. But as I say, you can only be one place for a convention. My role in the decision? Well, we met yesterday morning, and I shared my views with the members of the committee. Maxine and Valerie and Terry, I think, can attest to the fact that I didn't even ask the group for their votes. I shared my views with them. They shared their views with each other. And before we left the room, we took an informal show of hands and went out and had a discussion that was aired and publicized on TV. I think others can assess my role perhaps more fairly than I could.
Well, Paul, you sure did the right thing, I'll tell you that. We're convinced of that. As the final thing here at our news conference this morning, I'm going to ask Nate and Paul to stand, and if you will, unfold your sweatshirts.
Can we do one more thing? I think the Speaker of the Georgia General Assembly has just come in.
Oh, wonderful.
Speaker Murphy,
Murphy?
won't you come up, please? If I would answer that question, I think that one of the things that gave us a decisive edge on every other city was the Georgia World Congress Center, and the fact that we can have a convention basically under one roof and get all our business done in one environment. And we owe Speaker Murphy a great deal of thanks for providing us with that Georgia World Congress Center.
All right, gentlemen, if we could get you to stand and put those shirts in front of you, and let's get a picture of. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll adjourn to Salon 1 for lunch.
When I was in Congress, and as a member of the banking committee, tried to get a grant from the U.S. government into the Sudan. And we finally took about 2 years to get a $250 million project through Congress from 72 to 74. It was passed toward the end of 74. I left Congress in 77 and went to the United Nations. I asked about the project when I visited Sudan in 1977. It wasn't there, it was on the way. I was back in the Sudan in 1980. The money still hadn't gotten low. Now, that's when I began to raise questions about the role of any kind of government systems in solving the problems of development. Because at the same time, we were trying to get money that was approved by the U.S. government to the places where it was going. And everybody wanted it. And it just seemed like it was 6 or 8 years of red tape getting there. On that same trip, we got a group together in Nigeria with an engineering firm out of Texas. And they began to realize that Nigeria was importing $130 million worth of fertilizer every year. And the urea gases that were being produced on their oil wells were actually being burned up and wasted. That if you could find a way to take the gas that was being flared off because there was no use and pipe it through an engineering facility, you could convert that natural gas into fertilizer. And the government of Nigeria sat down with a private financing group and put together a project for about $450 million. That $450 million would relieve Nigeria in a few years of having to import $130 million worth of fertilizer. At the same time, it produced fertilizer from an existing raw material. It would meet that need that eliminated the expenditure of that kind of foreign exchange, but it would also give you the facility to export fertilizer at a much lower cost to Cameroon, Ghana, Burkina Faso, and other countries in West Africa. But with financing and with technology, raw materials that are now being wasted could be put to use very profitably. But in the course of developing a $450 million fertilizer plant, look at the construction people you would train. Look at the roads you would have to build. Look at the engineers that would be required. And one of the reasons why the United States won that project over the Japanese and the Italians was that we could train engineers in this country. And because the bids on the project, the U.S. company's bid was the And so they were anxious to do some business with the U.S. because they saw that, well, they want involvement of the U.S. in business. So they said if you could come down halfway, and I said, not only could the U.S. company come down halfway, but it was a Texas-based company in Houston. At that time, Nigeria had more Nigerian students in Houston than anywhere than here. We had about 3,000 or 4,000 here. There were about 5,000 in Houston, about 5,000 around Chicago. And so I said we could recruit engineering students that are already in school at Rice and Texas Southern, that are already in engineering, and you can put them to work in your plants in this country so that they would be able to run the plant in Nigeria by the time it's built. So that it's really the beginning of a transfer of technology and not just a turnkey project that you would build for somebody and then have to keep running it for them for the next 30, 40 years because they didn't have anybody skillful enough to run it. So it was the idea that you could get a genuine transfer of technology with the students, the African students that were already in institutions in the United States, that essentially proved to be the incentive that made the deal work for both Nigeria and the Texas company. Now, I give these as examples because I think that's the way African development is going to go. I don't see in a country where we're now having a $200 billion federal budget deficit and where we're raking off the top every little bit of money we can find to throw it away in places like Nicaragua or in wars in Grenada or Libya, irrelevancies. I don't see us coming up with the kind